Recently, I took a 7-day trip to Canada and all I brought was this backpack that fits under the seat in front of me. But I am gonna be honest, I think that I overpacked. And this might sound crazy if you've never traveled with just a personal item because this is so small. How could someone bring a small bag like this and overpack? But the entire trip, I was complaining about how heavy this bag felt and it was just hurting my back, which was an indicator to me that I probably brought too much because I've never had this issue before. So if you are someone who's looking to travel lighter, whether that's moving from a checked bag to a carry-on or a carry-on to even a personal item like I did a couple years ago, this is going to be a very helpful video for you and a very useful exercise. And that's because our overpacking typically comes from anxieties and what if situations where it's oh, I need to pack this because what if this happens? And oh yeah, I'm gonna bring that as well because this other thing might happen too. But oftentimes those situations just don't occur. And if they do, we can get those emergency things in the place we're going. So when I'm looking at the things I packed today, I'm gonna try to sort them into 3 categories. The first one is things that I did use during the trip. The next one is things that I did not use and brought anyway. And then the third are things that I did use, but that I didn't use all of. And this will be really useful when looking at things like socks and underwear and toiletries. And then at the very end of the video, I brought a bunch of new products to try this time since, I'm kind of lucky. I make these packing videos. I get to try a bunch of new things from brands. So I'm gonna give you my honest opinions on those at the end of this video. Yeah, let's jump into clothes first because I think this is one of the hardest ones. And this is where I actually had a lot of anxiety when I was packing because I wasn't quite used to the weather that I was packing for. When I looked at the weather before we left, it was gonna be between 60s to low to mid 70s, which is a little bit colder than I'm used to, especially the 60s. So when I was packing, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to bring a bunch of different jackets and layer, and I'm just not quite sure how cold I'm gonna be because I hate being cold. So for my clothes, I brought 2 pairs of pants. One is a pair of jeans and one are the pants that I wore on the plane, which are these kind of athletic trousers. Then I brought a pair of linen shorts, my pajamas, which are a t-shirt and running shorts, 4 pairs of socks, 3 that I packed, 1 that I wore to the airport, 5 underwear, 4 that I packed, 1 that I wore to the airport, as well as 5 tops, which included my tank top that I wore to the airport, 2 t-shirts, a kind of backless workout type top that can be dressed up, and this wrap top. I also packed a rain jacket, a sweater, a denim jacket, which I didn't show you in the original video, and because when we got off the plane in Detroit, it was 55 degrees. I felt so cold. We actually asked our family to bring us some puffy jackets as well. So I also used that during the trip, though I didn't pack it in my bag. And then I forgot to mention it, but I also brought a bralette that I used instead of a padded bra for all of my tops. Honestly, I did pretty well with the clothes. We actually got lucky during the trip and it ended up being warm most of the time in the mid 70s. It was just a little bit chilly on the first day and in the morning. So the first day was rainy. So I definitely needed that puffy and I needed my rain jacket. However, after that, it was only kind of chilly in the mornings. And by the afternoon, I wasn't wearing any kind of jacket or sweater. Because of that, I did bring some things that I don't think I necessarily needed, which are kind of my rain jacket. I ended up using that the first day. And I love this as a layering piece typically, but I really only needed it that first day. And I realized that the inside of the rain jacket lining is starting to flake. So I actually need to replace that. But then as far as warm weather stuff, the puffy was nice the first day, didn't end up needing it after that. Really, what I found that I was using the most was the sweater, which I had initially worn on the plane, and my denim jacket. Now, it was warm enough where I probably only needed one of these. Now, deciding which one is kind of hard because the sweater is just so comfortable for the plane. I don't want to wear a denim jacket on the plane. But the denim jacket looks a little bit nicer than a hoodie insofar as when you're going out and doing stuff during the day. And even if I needed a jacket at night, that one is a little nicer. So in an ideal world, I would have kind of something that filled the gap between those two. But I think they worked well for this trip. Another thing where I probably could have dropped maybe one item was with my underwear. Before we left, my partner told me we had a washing machine, so I took out 2 pairs of underwear and I took out a pair of socks, but we washed our things halfway through the trip, so I had a couple pairs left over it's never bad to have like one extra pair of underwear, but I think for this trip, I really only needed like 4 pairs of socks and 4 pairs of underwear max. I wanna look at the tops because when I was packing these, I didn't really realize that 2 of these are quite similar. I packed this backless workout top and then I also packed this wrap top. They're pretty similar. They're both long sleeve black tops, and I think that I could have gotten rid of one and just brought the other because I actually did not end up wearing the wrap top. I wore the backless one day. I just used my little cakes, so I didn't need a bra or anything. But these kind of both serve the same purpose. On the day that I wore that backless top, I think I just could have worn my tank top from my airport outfit with the wrap top as well. And like I said, I think this was just a blind spot when I was packing, and in the future, I'm gonna look and make sure that the things I pack aren't too similar to each other. In addition to my clothes, I packed this sling bag and I absolutely loved it. It's so lightweight and so it doesn't take up any room. I put it inside my bag at the airport just in case the gate agents are kind of like picky and want me to put my bag in the sizer. I typically get lucky, but just in case. And honestly, this like held such a good amount of stuff. I was able to put plenty of things in it during the day. And then I also just think it's like cute. I don't know, I like it. It's similar to the Uniqlo, I think it's called the Crescent bag. Only thing is because it's light, I didn't think about how my black jeans I haven't really washed before. So the black dye from the jeans spread onto the bag and onto my water bottle, which I had hanging on the bag. So that's the only downside. I need to wash it to see if I can get the stain out, but I was able to get the stain off of my water bottle really easily. Next, I want to look at my toiletries because I actually brought back more than I took on the trip. And this has been a category where I have really pared down, and not really pared down, but downsized a lot of my things so that I can bring all the stuff I want, but still save space in my bag and weight. So if you haven't watched the last video, I made a ton of these little mini toiletries that you're gonna see. Go back and watch that, and I think you'll get some really good ideas. And because I downsized those, I was actually able to take back the shampoo, conditioner, and a bar of soap from the first hotel that we stopped at. They're in these really good containers. They're like 22 milliliters. So I thought, ooh, that is like a perfect size, easy to slide into my toiletries bag. And I wanna use these containers again in the future. However, I think sometimes, and I know we all have this problem, we assume that we're gonna be like a different, better version of ourselves on vacation than we actually are. So on this trip, for the majority of the days, I didn't wear any makeup. I think I wore makeup 1 or 2 days, and of those 2 days, I didn't wear mascara, which means there are some items in here that I didn't need to pack. And that's just because I was like not being realistic with myself. This was a family trip, and so normally I would wear makeup more often when we're on vacation because we're taking photos and stuff, and I just like to have it on for photos, just like these videos. But at home, I never wear makeup. So I brought all of this with the assumption that I was going to get ready every day, and it was a family trip. We're just hanging out with family. I did not. So because of that, there's actually a couple things in here that I didn't end up using at all, just because I didn't end up wearing mascara or makeup. So like my mascara, obviously these 2 tubes I do not need. My face wash, I just washed my face in the shower. I don't need this specific face wash. And I also don't need my makeup remover because I only use that to remove my waterproof mascara. In addition to that, I didn't end up using this tiny little hair oil. I never know how my hair is gonna behave when we're on trips, and so I thought because I was using this shampoo bar that my hair would be a little bit rougher, and this could serve as kind of like a conditioner after it dries. But the air was so dry, my hair was super straight and smooth. Anyway, I didn't need it, but it doesn't take up that much space, to be honest. And I also didn't use this eyelash curler because obviously I didn't do my mascara any of the days. And then the last thing I didn't use was this refresh spray, which I'm gonna be honest, I got this big bottle for free, so I feel like this obligation to use it and use it up, but I think maybe I should just try to give this away because I don't use this at home either. And you guys told me in my toiletries video that this needs to be in a dark container, so I probably just like, it doesn't even serve a purpose anymore either. Despite all of that, all of these things are so small. I mean, they fit in my quart size bag easily. And if I did do my makeup, I would want to have them. So for this kind of thing, I am just so on the fence, but I'm gonna put them to the side. And I think later I'm gonna weigh all the things that I didn't end up using to see how much I could have saved in weight for my bag because, like I said, it did feel very heavy and I was irritated and annoyed because of that. In my other little bag, I have my makeup brushes, which I used almost all of these because these I use for like my concealer, my foundation, my eyeshadow, which I wear those even when I'm not wearing my mascara. And then I have a couple other things in here as well, like daily contacts, a headband for washing my face, a little hair tie, and some pimple patches. Now, I didn't need my daily contacts, I didn't need my pimple patches, but my contacts, I wear glasses, so I really want to have those just in case my glasses break, that I have something to tide me over until I can get new ones. So that doesn't necessarily bother me, and even though I didn't use it, I think I would bring it again next time. Looking at this, there's obviously a good amount of space I could have saved by not bringing certain things and just being like realistic about who I am and how often I'm gonna wear makeup. But at the same time, it's so hard to say, no, I'm not gonna bring these in the future, because when I do want them, I really do want them. Okay, moving on to that, let's talk about tech, because I think this is where I had the most waste, because same problem as I had before, right? I had these expectations of who I think I'm going to be when I'm traveling and who I actually am. And for this trip, I really expected that I would have time to work both while we were at the airport, on the plane, and then also downtime while we were there for me to edit videos and things. So I brought my laptop, I brought my SSD with all my video files and stuff on it. I brought, my big charging block, all these things that I just didn't end up using because I just didn't have time. When we were at the airport, we were on the move a lot. When I was on the plane, oh my God. This plane, I could probably just do a whole video about this because it was really, really stressful. We had a belligerent person on our flight and they were belligerent for the entire 3+ hours. And so, yeah, I'm gonna work. No way. That plane was like chaos. There's no way I could have gotten any work done. And so if I separate these are all of the things that I ended up not using on this trip, which kind of is, yeah. I think this is where a lot of that extra weight came from. And I'm curious to see how much all of the things I didn't use weigh at the end. And I think this is going to be the biggest contributor. I think in the future, because I'm often traveling with my laptop, I might look at maybe a lighter one that I can take on trips and leave this one for when I'm at home. And actually when it comes to cords and charging, I only needed this 4-in-1 cable and this, God, I always forget what this is called, kind of like a power strip. If I needed to, I would charge my Kindle during the day. In the evenings, I would put this little block on there, charge my ring for maybe 15-20 minutes. And then at night, I would just put my phone to charge on here. But I didn't even need a power block for it because it has all of these USB strips on the edge. So my partner and I just used 2 of these. One for him, one for me, and this was plenty. So actually I bought this big power bank and wall plug as well, and I didn't need it. However, my partner actually ended up packing the Steam Deck in his bag because he was gonna play some games on the flight, which he slept through every single flight, and I knew he would do that. I also used my Kindle. I didn't play the Steam Deck at all. However, this is the only battery bank we have that's actually strong enough to charge those. But once again, you think you're gonna be a different person than you always are, and we didn't end up using it. So had I not brought these things, I probably would have saved a lot of weight and a lot of space. The last thing I kind of want to look at before we get to the new products are my miscellaneous items, like my compression socks, these cakes, and my scarf. So these compression socks, I love them. I love them so much. And I am so serious when I say that I am never gonna travel without these. I put them on when we get to the airport before we board the plane. Love it. Honestly, life-changing for me. Same with these cakes. I like the feeling of not wearing a bra, but I don't actually like the way it looks. And so these provide a little bit more coverage if you want that. And what I do is I also pair it with a bralette so that I have a little bit more support as well. And for me, both of these things together replace a padded bra, which is uncomfortable and bulky to pack. So I'm not bringing a padded bra. Finally is my scarf. And I actually ended up not using this at all. And I think that's because kind of like I mentioned earlier, it was just warmer than I expected it to be. And on the plane, I had this cinched in those compression straps with my other clothes, so it wasn't easy to just take it in and out. And yeah, I just ended up not needing it. Okay, let's look at some new things I brought because some of these really wowed me and some of these kind of like surprised me in not the best way. Okay, first, let's talk about the things that wowed me. Matador recently sent me these toothpaste tubes and this soap pack container. And so I wanted to test both of these out on the strip. The toothpaste tube because I'm not allergic, but my gums don't like this ingredient that's in a lot of toothpaste and it makes them kind of like peel and slough off. I know that's like kind of gross, but it's also a very uncomfortable feeling for me as well. So I tested this toothpaste container out, filled it with the toothpaste that I like to use at home and brought it on the trip, and it worked really, really well. My partner and I both used this for the week and we didn't go through it. So it says it's for a week, but I think it could actually last much longer than that because then I used it for like a week when we got home as well. And maybe it's just because I put only a pea-sized amount on my toothbrush when I brush, but this was plenty. I think we could actually probably get through a 10 to 14 day trip with the two of us using just this container, which is crazy because the package actually comes with a bigger one too. So I don't even know what I would do with the bigger one. Next is this soap pack. So on this trip, rather than using like the shampoo and conditioner that is there, I brought this shampoo bar. And normally I don't like these, but I was like, you know what? I need to test it for this trip. And actually, at the first hotel we stopped at, where I got those little travel shampoo and conditioners, they also had a travel like mini bar of soap. So I took that and tossed it in here, used that when I showered. I washed my hair with the shampoo bar. And then when they were wet, I still put them back in this thing. Oh my God, hello, this is amazing. I really don't understand how it works because obviously the moisture is able to dissolve and go out of this bag, but it doesn't get anything else in your bag, like wet or soapy or moist. I don't know. I love this. And I really think that I'm gonna be using this more in the future. Per your recommendations, for everyone who's commented before, I actually just ordered some shampoo and conditioner bars from a popular brand. I'm gonna test them out and see how I like them, because I think this would be a really, really good way to bring enough shampoo and conditioner for longer trips, like a month long, especially if I'm able to not use like the whole bar, but just cut off a portion. If I like the shampoo and conditioner bar, you'll be seeing this later this year when we go on a month-long trip. Gotta say, both of these products, loved them, 10 out of 10. Next is this like compression strap thing, and I really liked this. What I liked most about this was that I was able to fold my clothes to fit the size of my bag. This is something I run into probably more than other people, but because I'm testing so many backpacks, I have my favorite compression cubes that I like to use, but they don't always fit the full amount of space that's available in the bag. And so sometimes there's some leftover space that I just don't necessarily get to utilize. So that makes these compression sleeves really useful because I can just fold my clothes to the size of the bag or whatever space I want them to fit in. And then these like really compress, for better and maybe for worse, because since they compress so well, I think it is easy to overpack because of that. But if you're traveling with like just a personal item in the winter and you have sweaters, which are pretty bulky, hello, this might be fantastic for actually getting all of the air out of those. Plus, you can still pair these with a compression packing cube if you want as well. So I like these, they're lightweight. I think I will definitely be using these in the future. I don't know if I'll keep them in my personal item because it's kind of difficult to get things in and out of them once they're in there, but I will most definitely be using these like with my carry-on and stuff. Next, I tested out a new water bottle from a brand called Larq, and I was actually intrigued by it because it has a filter and a UV sanitizer within it. Now, I'm an Owala girly. I always bring my 24-ounce Owala when I travel, and like literally when I leave the house, I always have that thing. However, when it comes to traveling, and especially at the airport we fly out of all the time, the water tastes so bad. But it's not like I can fill up my water before we go through security. I have to fill it up in there, or that means I have to buy a bottle of water and fill my water bottle, which kind of just defeats the point of bringing a water bottle itself. So I used this time, and the filter, it's not perfect. Like, it doesn't make it taste like filtered water straight out of a water cooler or something, but it does taste a lot better. So what we ended up doing is I would fill my water bottle at the water fountain. My partner would fill the normal Owala that we had, and then we would drink from the filtered water bottle. And then when that was empty, we would pour the other water into it. There are a couple downsides to it. First off, because it's a metal bottle, it's a little bit heavy, and because it has that filter in there, it just holds a little less water. So it holds 23 ounces, and it can be, if you're not used to like sucking through a filter, that was a little difficult at first until I got used to it. And there's also like an app integration with it. I do not love apps and like smart integrated objects, smart objects like that. However, the app is like a good way to check the battery and the filter levels. So I use it for that, but I don't use it for any kind of tracking. And then actually, I'm looking at it now to the side. I forgot to mention that I really do like the strap on this. So you can just unhook it, wrap it around your bag, and hook it back very easily, which I actually like that a lot better than my Owala, because my Owala, I have to unhook my whole sling and kind of slide it through. I've used this since we got back about a month ago, and I really enjoy it. And I think if you are looking for kind of like a filtered bottle for your trips, I would recommend it. And the last new product that I brought on this trip was this backpack. And I mentioned before in the packing video, this is the Air Travel Pack 3, size small. And Air, this brand, their backpacks are like super popular on Reddit. So I had very high expectations for this. And I have to say, I enjoyed all the pockets and all the organization inside, but this bag in and of itself is just heavy. I try to keep my personal items around 1 kilogram in weight. This is heavier than that. I don't have the specifics. I'll put it on the screen, but this was just heavy. And there's all of these like zipper pulls and dangly bits like sticking off of it all around. You can see like this, especially like these ones on the top. I kept opening the wrong pocket. So like I was trying to get into the main pocket, but I would accidentally open the front tech pocket and vice versa. And then I tried to like slide it into the slider, and then these little bits would get stuck. There's like all these little thingies hanging off the straps. And so this is a great bag. It is very nicely made. The zippers, you know, all of those like construction features are really nice, but I think for me, this is just not the bag that I would take if I was traveling with only a personal item. Now, if I had a carry-on as well that I could sit this on and not have to like worry about having it on my back all the time, okay, maybe then I would consider taking it again. Like I said, a beautiful bag, but I just don't think it's the one for me. Now, since we've kind of gone through all of these things that I didn't end up using, I want to put them all in a bag and see how much weight I could have saved by not bringing them. Because like I said, this bag was heavy. I was like complaining the whole time about how my back hurt, how my bag was heavy. I didn't want to walk around as much. And when I weighed it before, it was over 8 kilograms before I even put my laptop in. So I'm gonna put all of these in this little bag. I finally found my packing scale again. I'm like always losing stuff. And see how much weight I could have saved. Look at that. That's a lot of weight I could have saved. Holy cow. And I think that's everything. So what I'm gonna take away from this trip report of what I did and didn't use is that I need to be more realistic with myself and remember that who I am on vacation is not that different from who I am in real life. Like, I don't need to pack a bunch of fancy outfits. I'm probably just gonna wear the same comfy clothes that I always like. I don't need to bring a bunch of makeup. If I know that I'm only gonna maybe wear makeup 1 or 2 days during the trip, I don't need to overdo it in that department either. And then I think it also comes down to lightening what I can. So if there are things that I need to bring, like my makeup remover or my laptop, can I find lighter versions of those so that when I'm traveling, they're not putting as much pressure or ache on my shoulders and just making me not want to carry the bag. So I hope that this kind of exercise was also useful for you. You know, the next time you come back from a trip, if you want to travel lighter. Now, if you don't want to travel lighter, don't do this. But if you're watching this video, you probably do. So next time you come back from a trip, look while you're unpacking and say, did I use this? Did I not use this? Did I take too much of this and next time I can bring a little less? And just keep that in mind so that the next time you go to pack, you can think more critically about what you're bringing and what you don't actually need. Okay, that's all I have for this video. If you guys like this one, make sure I'm gonna put another video on screen that I think you'll also like as well. Subscribe and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.